and welcome back to Season 3 of Food for Therapy. I'm your host, Therese Bolden. Welcome to the show that combines my training and specialties of psychotherapy and counselling, personal development and writing, with my passions of food and hosting and culture. And today I'm really excited because the topic that was chosen by one of our viewers, and it is how to balance work and life. But before we get into the topic, I want to introduce our food because it's really, really simple and delicious. Now, as you all know, I'm going through menopause. And so as you transition through menopause and you lose certain hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, we need to upkeep them. As I am somebody that can't take any hormone replacement, and I've gone the more holistic route, I really am conscious of the food that I put into my body and it being a source of nutrients to support the change in my life. So I've created a salad today, and it's a chickpea, coriander, carrot. It's got strawberries, it's got tomatoes, and it's got raspberries. And it's got beautiful smoked salmon. So pretty much everything in this salad is going to support the nutrients or the vitamins and the hormones that I'm missing, especially with the chickpeas, because they're a good source of estrogen. So for anyone transitioning or going through that, you should know that. The smoked salmon, of course, is really good because, as we know, smoked salmon or fish, especially salmon, the oils in the salmon are very good for your mental acuity and clarity and vitality. It's very good for your skin. It's very good for overall health. So, bon appetit. I'm going to be eating with you as we chat about this wonderful topic of how to balance work and life. Now, it's a really, really important topic because, you know, if we live in the West, which a lot of people do live in Western culture, we're heavily influenced by capitalism. And most people tend to be slaves to capitalism. And if you're a slave to capitalism, it means that you're going to be out of sync in some sort of way, because you're working 70 plus hours a week to pay your mortgage, to support your family. And oftentimes people will find that they get to the weekend and they're exhausted and they can't function. And they're just trying to recover or to come down from a really hectic, stressful week. And that can be really difficult for individuals. It can be difficult for relationships. But I want you to know there is always, always help. And the help really starts with you. And it starts with one thing that you can change that will make an incredible amount of difference in the whole of your life, because it has a ripple effect, right? And once you've started that journey of changing a particular habit to improve your quality of life, you'll notice that you start feeling better. So it's really important that you focus on going in and focus on asking yourself what it is exactly that you want. What does balance mean to you? Because balance means something different to different people, you know. But at the end of the day, you're the one that can qualify that by asking yourself, where do you spend the most amount of energy outside your work? Okay. And whatever your answer is, that will be your highest value. So if you're somebody that works a 70 plus hour a week and gets to the weekend and spends the majority of that time at pubs or bars drinking, then your highest value is obviously entertainment and, you know, connecting with people and drinking. And whatever that is that you spend the most time doing outside of work, that's where you can start to make that change for yourself, okay? So the problem with turning to alcohol is that alcohol will kind of, you know, relax you for 5 minutes, but it also has an adverse effect on your nervous system, on your liver, on your brain functioning. And you'll find that, you know, things like wine will make it very difficult for you to sleep. You'll fall asleep very quickly, but then you'll wake up a couple of hours after. So these are things that you should be aware of. But I understand, really understand the pressure on us to live up to our dreams and live up to our expectations. We live in a world that is incredibly fast paced. We live in a frenetic world, and sometimes, I used to always give the analogy that I'm constantly dancing on shifting carpet, and that in and of itself explains to you how frenetic my life was in the past. But what happens with that is that you'll get to a point where something has to give. You'll get to a breaking point, a point where you need to have to start addressing your quality of life and what you're doing and where you're spending the most time, and if it's serving you or not. So what happens at the end of the week, I remember when I was in the corporate world and I was doing excess of 70 hours and I had a family to support, was that I needed alcohol to switch off. But like I said, it was doing the adverse thing, the opposite thing. So it would help me to relax for 5 minutes, and then it would keep me awake, right? And then I would be foggy the next day, and I would need a couple of days to recover from that. And then the cycle would continue to repeat itself. So I urge you to, take the bull by the horns and ask yourself what balance means to you, because creating a balanced life means something different to every different person, okay? We don't have to focus on what other people are doing all the time. The problem with focusing on other people is that you're measuring your own achievements by their standards. So you need to really bring it in and ask yourself, what do I want in order to feel safe, in order to feel healthy, in order to feel happy? And I say this often to my clients, happiness is not a destination, it is a continuum, okay? We will come in and out of states of happiness as we come in and out of states of sadness or anger or whatever it is that you're experiencing. All emotions are transient and they move, including happiness. But ask yourself the question, where do I spend the most time? Okay, what is my highest value? Your highest value will be where you spend the most time outside of work. What do I want? What does balance mean for me? So for me, Therese, balance for me means that, number one, my family is the priority, always. My family is always the priority. My meditation, my mindfulness, exercise, these are all things that really keep me in my body and keep me connected to myself, to a universal harmony and a universal order, and to my family. Because if you are focusing on yourself and caring for yourself, what you'll notice is that you have the space and you have the energy to give back to your family. And you have the energy and the space to give back to your friends, okay? Because what it means is that you're loving yourself. So acknowledge that you have a challenge or a problem, which is that you're spending too much time at work and you don't have a balance and you're feeling not so great. So we've got problem and we've got solution, or challenge and solution. Ask yourself, what is your highest value? The answer to that will be where you spend the most time outside of work. And start with one single thing that you can change. So for example, when you get to the end of the week, instead of turning to alcohol to switch off, try something different, okay? Try mindfulness, try exercise, try having sex, okay? Sex is the one thing that will, number one, keep you present. It releases endorphins and hormones that keep you happy, but also foster intimacy. Whether you're having sex with yourself or with a partner, it can also help you relieve tension and release tension. And if you've ever had a headache and had sex during a headache, for all you women out there, or for anyone that says they've got a headache and can't have sex, having sex actually relieves a headache because it releases those endorphins. And so try doing something different. One thing that you can change to shift will have a ripple effect throughout your life. Turn off your social media. I make it a point when I jump into bed of an evening after I've meditated, I do not touch my phone. And because the bedroom is a space for relaxation, it's a space for intimacy, it's a space for reflection. It's not a space to engage in social media. Really find what it is that you love doing, okay? Oftentimes, if you're somebody that's a high achiever or someone that's on the road, to that climbing that corporate ladder, ask yourself, what is the end game here? Because I did that. I was a Trojan, for many years. I was out working hours and hours and hours climbing that corporate ladder. And to what end? I asked myself in the end, what do I gain? As a single mother, when I reflect on it, I realized I didn't spend as much time with my children as I could have because I was working to support them to climb that corporate ladder. I was a very boundary-oriented mother, very affectionate, very, very present with them. But because I was climbing the corporate ladder, I also realized I could have spent more time with them. I could have just done a 9 to 5 and spent more time, And so we have to, at some stage, kind of, like I said, reflect on our experiences and be humble enough to say, that's not working for me. I could change it, because only you can change something. You're in the driver's seat. Your life is yours, and you are born with freedom and choice. And those choices mean that it's your accountability. So if you want something different, you need to make that change. And so I think it's important, like I said, to assess where you are, where you think you could make changes. Be realistic about it. If you're somebody that is trying to climb the corporate ladder and you really are focused on, A, B, and the next point, just try one single thing. It could be just not using your phone in the bedroom. It could be that you start doing some mindfulness. It could be that you connect with people more. It could be that you remind yourself that you need to be present with the people that you love, with anyone that you connect with. Because I can tell you now, nobody wants to be around you if you're on your phone or you're focused on something else that you have to do. That's not being present. And it's really disrespectful to do that to someone that you love. The path to creating balance for ourselves is really, really understanding who we are and what our needs are. And as I said, it's acknowledging the problem. It's going, okay, instead of drinking at the end of the week, I can do something different. What am I going to do different? If you decide that you're not going to take your phone in your room, that's one good thing that you could do. You could even say to your boss that I choose not to connect with anyone over the weekend. That is my time to switch off. And I've done that. I've done that in a lot of roles where I've said, I'm not going to be contactable on the weekend. That is my time to regroup. It is my mental health and wellness. Because we're not machines. We're not designed to function like machines and consistently go, 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 go without any respite. When you respect your body and you respect and love yourself, you will understand intrinsically that we need to regroup, to refresh, so that we can be in harmony with the world. When you're in harmony with the world, everything has a beautiful order and functioning and flow. And you'll know that. It took me a long time to be intrinsically connected with the universe and recognize that I was in the natural flow. I don't wear a watch. I haven't worn a watch for at least 20 years, but I could tell you what time it is because I am intrinsically connected with a universal order and flow. I don't need to set an alarm to get up because I know that intrinsically that is the time that I need to get up. And that takes practice to do that. That is when you are aligned with a universal flow. But you can do that, I've never been a late person. I'm always somebody that's on time to a meeting, if not before, because I respect people's time as much as I respect my own. But I think it's important that you start asking yourself what else you could do that could contribute to you having a balance. Having strong and consistent boundaries is also another one. If you missed episodes 5 and 6 in season 2, that was devoted to the setting of boundaries. The episode's called The Good No. I invited psychoanalyst Dr. Belinda Mackey to chat with me about the importance of boundaries. And boundaries show people that you respect yourself. Boundaries show people that you love yourself. Boundaries show people where you start and they begin. And it shows people how you are connected to the world, okay? Boundaries show people how to treat you, okay? So it could be that you decide, for this week, I'm going to start setting boundaries, all right? I won't answer work calls over the weekend. That's a boundary. That shows that you're taking time out. I won't, I won't allow for anyone to come into my world or my orbit that's toxic. That's a boundary. That's telling someone that you respect and love yourself. Set the boundaries early and you'll start to notice different things are happening for you in your life. You'll start to notice people treat you differently. And when you start setting boundaries, you will probably lose people along the way because they're used to you behaving in a way that's, just go with the flow. You don't have any boundaries. You just do whatever they want. So I've suggested to you you could not respond to text messages. That's setting a boundary. I've suggested that you could decide not to drink at the end of the week because that then creates another problem. That's another boundary. That's another way to show you respect your body. I've suggested that instead of turning to alcohol, you could decide to be intimate with yourself or with your partner because that releases endorphins, that releases happy hormones, that releases intimacy, fosters intimacy in a relationship, but also helps that you relax. Figure out what it is that you want by making the change. It's not just about, it's not a tagline. It's not just, I want balance. In what areas do you want balance? It could be that you devote so much time to your work that you don't see your friends. So you might want balance with that. It could be that you don't see your family. So that you might want balance with that. It could be that that you take up a new exercise. Some people will often tell me that they struggle with meditation or they're afraid of meditation for the idea that they can't switch off their mind. And I'm here to tell you, my friends, having meditated for many, many, many years and getting into deep meditation, when you first start meditating, if you're trying to stop yourself from thinking, it's going to become greater. You will start thinking more. The idea of meditation is that you see a thought pop into your mind and you don't develop the thought. You just come back to your breath. Another thought will pop up and you watch it come and you watch it go and you come back to your breathing. The breathing helps to anchor you. The reason the breathing is core, it's such an important element in relaxation, is because oftentimes when people are overstressed and overwhelmed, they will have too much energy going on up here in their heads. They're not breathing properly. They're not breathing all the way down to their diaphragm and their tummy, and they're not anchored to the ground. Oftentimes what you'll find is highly strung, highly stressed people will be on autopilot. They'll just be consistently going. And these people are the number one people that will suffer tremendous breakdown very quickly because we're not designed to be machines. And the sooner that you realize that, the sooner you realize that we are all human, we all have vulnerabilities, we are designed to be in natural order with the universe, whatever that means for you. Some people like hiking, some people like running, some people like meditation. I'm somebody that loves meditation. I also love running. I'm very active, I'm very physical, but I also love to go in, okay? Figure out what it is that you love and do it. Because for me, exercise shouldn't feel like I'm doing work. It should be enjoyable. So if that means I have a run and I'm looking at, I'm taking in the world as I run, or if I'm walking, so be it. You clarify and identify what it is that you need and start doing it. Now is the time. You don't want to get to a point where you have a heart attack, because it happens, and then you go, oh my God, I need to start looking at my life. You want to prevent instead of put a Band-Aid or cure. So let's just clarify again that the topic was asked to me that everybody's struggling at the moment, especially in the Western world, with work-life balance. Firstly, you need to ask yourself what it is that you want. And nobody can tell you what you want. You need to identify what it is that you want, okay? Because often what you'll find is when you're climbing that corporate ladder, like I know for myself when I was doing it, every time I'd get to the point that I wanted to, I had to get to the next point and to the next point. And for me, it got to a point where I was like, it's all in vain. It's all for naught, right? Because unless you have that balance with your family and with your friends, you have nothing. And children grow up very quickly and they move on and they do other things. So you really have to, if you're a mother and you're in a situation where you choose to work or you want to work and that's your choice, just ask yourself, what is it that I need right now? And our values will change throughout our lives. They don't stay the same all the time, especially work values, right? Honesty, integrity, family, they will generally be the same. But work values and goals and all of that, they will change. And that's okay. They'll change with circumstances. They'll change because life can be frenetic sometimes. Ask yourself what it is that you want. If you're in a situation where you have to provide, which is where I was, and you have to take care of your family, I had to do that because it meant, that I had to provide for my family. I had to take care of them, support them, all of that thing. So I'm just giving you a kind of an example as myself, because when I look back on it now, if there's one thing I could have probably changed would be that I probably would have just done, I don't know, maybe a more simpler job where I didn't have to work as many hours so that I could be at home more with my children, and don't get me wrong, I think I was a pretty good mother. We all make mistakes and there are areas that we can improve. But I feel that in terms of my children, because they were very different, one of my children probably needed more of my attention than I was able to give, because I would work. I probably wouldn't get home till 6 or 7, and then I'd be out the door the next day at 6:30 or 7 in the morning. I think it's a humbling thing to look at your life and evaluate it and ask yourself, what is it for? Because as you get older, I know when I turned 50, I realized that the rest of my life is going to be the best of my life. The rest of my life is absolutely going to be intentional. And by intentional, I mean that I intentionally want to spend time with that person, that I intentionally want to exchange energy with that person, that I intentionally choose what I do, because we don't know how long we've got. So we want to make the best out of it. And that's why it's always important to be self-reflecting and be self-evaluating. Not be too critical, okay? Take control of that, that the superconscious and the super ego, the one that points the finger at you and criticizes you. Keep that in check. It's just about evaluating where you are. Are you happy? Are you healthy? Are your children happy? Are they healthy? Are they taken care of? There's a whole lot of things that come into play, and especially for women. Women are incredibly harsh on themselves, and they're also the harshest critic on other women. And I'm here to tell you that the best thing you can do for yourself is focus on yourself. Always focus on yourself. I've always been that way. My mother taught me that. I was never interested in gossip. I was never interested in what other women were doing. But I found other women were always interested in what I was doing. And that's their choice. But I always kept a very tight circle of friends and people that supported my values and supported my decisions. And, I think that that's a very important thing to have a group of friends that obviously can challenge you respectfully, but can also support you through these changes and give reflection back to you and say, is that going to help you? Or do you want that? Or that you feel supported, that you don't feel judged, okay? It doesn't matter what Jenny down the street is doing. It doesn't matter what the Jones are doing, okay? Because if you're trying to keep up with Joneses, you're going to constantly need to keep up with the Joneses because somebody else is going to get a better house or a better dress or a better car or whatever it is, okay? You're going to get yourself caught up into that kind of vapid, vacuous world, which for me is redundant. I've never been interested in that. So the challenge to keep a balanced life is to, one, go in and ask yourself what you want. Acknowledge that we're human beings, we're not machines. Understand that what your friend needs to feel good is something very different than you, and don't compare yourself. Okay? There's only one Therese, there's only one of you. Focus on yourself. Ask yourself. You will get the answer, okay? If you really go in and you ask, what do I need to feel good? You'll get an answer. It just depends on whether you want to hear it or not. Do activities that make you feel good. Find a new sport, okay? Connect with your friends if you haven't seen them in a while. Connect with your family. Go for a walk. Try mindfulness, meditation. Keep social media out of your bedroom. Have sex. It fosters intimacy. So I encourage you to go in and evaluate what it is that you want at this moment. And you might need to do that, every 6 months. Ask yourself, because you will get an answer. If you can't answer these simple questions, what do I need to feel balanced at the moment? Then you're going to struggle. Figure out where your highest value is. Your highest value, I've said before, will be the amount of time that you spend outside your work. Whatever you do outside of your job is your highest value. So if that is at home with my children, that's your highest value. That's family. If that is, going to bars every week and drinking and inebriating yourself, that's your highest value. Figure it out and ask yourself what you can do differently. And one simple thing will have a ripple effect. So if you decide that you're not going to drink anymore, and I was a social drinker. I was never really a big drinker because I'm a lightweight. I can't drink a lot. But last year on my birthday was the last time I drank alcohol. And I'm so much better for it. My thoughts are clear. My head is clear. Obviously, when you're going through menopause, you need to be careful as well. So I feel healthier. I feel my eyes have cleared up. The white of my eyes is white. The green of my eyes is green. And, it affects every facet of your life, Obviously, we're not spending money on alcohol. You're saving. So one simple choice and decision can make a huge difference in your life. It means that I sleep. The other thing is sleep. Sleep is one of the most fundamental things that you need to have in order to be a healthy, functioning individual. 8 hours a night, 7 to 8 hours. It depends again on you. Anyone that tells you 4 is no. It's 7 to 8 hours. I'm somebody that needs more. So because I get hot flushes and I'm not sleeping well at the moment, I might fall asleep at 10 and wake up at, let's say, 8 or something, but I'm not actually sleeping the whole night. So I need longer hours because it's interrupted. It's so fundamental to sound mental health. You really have to sleep and sleep well. And the only way to sleep well is to not eat before you sleep, is to not drink before you sleep, is to not stimulate your mind. If you've got social media in your room, it's it's stimulating your mind. And those hormones that help us to go off and not off to sleep are not going to be active at that time. If you're finding that you are overly active, you have an overly active mind and you're trying to nod off and it's creating more anxiety and stress, I recommend that you get up and you just walk around your house or your apartment. You read a couple of lines in a book and you go back to sleep. All right. What you resist persists. Okay. So if you're struggling with it and you're focusing on the struggle, it'll intensify. So you need to alleviate that struggle. What else can I suggest for you? Routine. Routine is incredibly, incredibly important. If you're in the process of making a change in your life so that you can create balance, create a routine. So if you've made the decision that you're not going to have your phone in the room anymore, keep it that way for at least 21 days, because that's what you need to create a new habit. At least 21 days without having your phone in the room, or at least 21 days of mindfulness, or at least 21 days of meditation. Again, with meditation, it's not you trying to stop your thoughts. It's allowing the thoughts to come and go so you don't develop them. For example, if I had a thought of, what am I going to wear to my cousin's wedding? I wouldn't then say, oh, I can, go online, or I can go to Net-a-Porter. Just let it come and let it go. Back to your breath. Stopping the alcohol, at least 21 days. So every little thing has a ripple effect and makes a change, a tremendous change. So on that note, I'm going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Come back and join me. This is a really good topic because it's come from you, it's come from our viewers, and the topic is wonderful. It's about how to create balance so that we can live a healthy, fulfilling life. I'll see you back in a moment.